Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of The Shift. My name is Joe Marquez, an educator out of the Central Valley of California and the Director of Academic Innovation for Q. And my shifty partner in innovation right here, Tyler. Tyler, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, Joe. My name is Tyler Keefe. I am the instructional coach, previous technology instructional coach up here at Sherman Elementary School in wonderful, beautiful, crazy weathered Nampa, Idaho. And Joe, like I was telling you off air, I think we had all 4 seasons in the span of about 3 or 4 hours today. So it's been an interesting one, and my voice is kind of going out because of it. And to top it all off, we had 1/3 of the power in our building get knocked out for a couple hours right at lunchtime. So it's been a fun, crazy, chaotic day, but totally worth it.
It looks like the weather's not only messing with the physical people, but also the digital AI that's running your entire school as well. It's interesting over here in the Central Valley too, because yesterday it was windy and like 90 degrees, and then today it is just cold and rainy and windy, but still smells like a flower shop because everything is blooming. So it's crazy over here on the West Coast, right, of the United States.
Yeah, it's nuts. I have a buddy who's up in Longview, Washington. And for those of you that don't know, that's on the coast of Washington. And they actually had a snow day today. I got up and I saw that picture. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And he was just like laughing at me through the camera. I'm like, dude, not cool.
Is there such thing as a snow day anymore with the usage of technology from home? Do they actually take snow days, or do they say it's like an at-home learning day?
Well, in this district, I can't say for sure, but because they weren't prepared and sending the devices home with kids on a regular basis, my guess is they actually called it a snow day. If they're sending the devices home daily, then I could see it being called an at-home learning day. But let's be honest, after 2 years of that, where's the fun in doing that anymore?
Well, I think the fun is not having to add an extra day of school at the end of the school year because of a snow day, right? But I guess then the kids would be like, hey, I want to still go out and play. So it's all good. But I know a lot of schools have made the shift away from snow days because of that at-home learning option. But you know what? That's what we're here to talk about. We're talking about how we're using technology in the classroom. But if you have not been a viewer of The Shift, we are talking about how you shift one activity from Google to Microsoft, or shift a Microsoft activity to Google. We all know teachers work in different environments. They may shift over to different schools and they have to use a different ecosystem. So we want to make that shift as easy as possible, because as we say on this show, shift happens, and when it does, you better know how to deal with it. So last week, I showed an activity and asked Tyler. I showed an activity in the Google ecosystem and asked Tyler to show that same activity in a Microsoft ecosystem. Today, Tyler has an activity for us that he's going to show us in the Microsoft ecosystem, and I'm going to see if I can make it happen in the Google ecosystem. So, Tyler, tell us, what is our activity today? What is our mission today for our viewers at home?
Well, so our mission today is going to be using PowerPoint Online to make a pseudo app prototype for you to use in your classroom, or ways that I've actually used this. And I use this pretty much weekly when looking at data with the teachers as the instructional coach. So I'm going to switch over to PowerPoint here. Get over my OBS. There we go. And Joe, I was actually thinking as I just switched over there, I wonder if, someday, if any of the viewers, send us a message or a DM, whatever you want to call them, in the Twitter sphere or the Google sphere or anything. If you want to see a tutorial about how we are doing this by sharing our screen within the platform, and let us know, because we can always, show you guys how we do that. But the app prototype idea is something that we picked up from our Apple Education Learning, and how they will take an idea for an app, because, all of our kids, they play on their parents' phones, they have their own phones, and they have apps for different things. But how could we do that where it's not actually an app, but it can actually function as one? So within PowerPoint, the first thing that I would do is change the aspect ratio of the slide, or change the slide size. And we can have a standard or widescreen, but for this, I want to kind of make it like a phone. And I'm just going to find one that kind of works. The custom, you could do it if you wanted to get that specific to a phone size. But I'm just going to make it 8.5 by 11. And then I'm going to make it portrait so that it's sitting in that vertical way. So now we have our blank canvas here. And for this, I am just going to completely start from scratch to show you how simple this is, but how powerful this idea can actually be. So I'm going to bring in a picture of our Sherman Gator, Chomp, as we like to call him. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. And if it helps if I grab it with the right, there we go. It was giving me some fits there. So here is Chomp. And over top of Chomp, I'm just going to say, I'm going to put in some nice text box. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm just going to call it Sherman 2021, 2022 data. And for time purposes, I'm not going to worry too much about all the aesthetics of how this is looking. With more time, we'd want to, make this look a lot better. But, for this case, it's all good. And I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to center this. There we go. And whoops, man, it's being really finicky today. There we go. And so Sherman 2021-22 data. And I want to, when you click on Chomp, for it to go to a certain spot, or a certain slide, I should say. So I'm actually, the only way I can do this that I know of is I have to add a new slide. And on this new slide, I'm just going to call this reading data. And I am going to get rid of this box here. And I want to insert another text box. And actually, I'm not going to do a text box because, we're all visual learners. And I'm going to actually insert a shape. And for kicks and giggles, I'm going to do an arrow. And I'm going to put Kinder. And I think you taught me one. If I do Command D, it duplicates, but it's not doing that for me. Or is it Command Shift D? Nope. It's not working for me. So I'm just going to copy paste, and I'm going to do it again for first. And I'll do one more for second. Now, obviously, we could go up to, 5th grade or whatever grade you're wanting to go to. And so now I'm going to have Chomp, and I want it, once I click on Chomp, to go here. So I'm going to look at Chomp, and I'm going to right-click on it. If you're on a MacBook, if you use 2-finger click, you can bring this up as well. And I do believe that if I go to Format Options, I can bring up the link, which, of course, they changed it on me. Microsoft is always changing things. But I'm going to go up to Insert. And Joe, if you see it here, because they have changed it on me, I can't actually insert the link there. Is that new? Do you know that?
No, you should be able to. Yeah, and it's just a hyperlink, right?
Right.
To the next slide.
Yeah, that's literally all that I'm trying to do here. And I feel, horrible showing you this, but good grief, where did it go? Let's see. Insert. Because, I'm basically, like you were alluding to there, is I would be making a link to another slide, and I can do it over here, but it's only doing an address. So Joe, again, I'm going to have to make a quick pivot shift and, say I can't do this on the online version. We, as as teachers here, we're doing it on the app version on our iPads, and this works like butter. It works really good. And I'm just going through checking all these, and I am not seeing what I want to see on here.
Now, check if you click on slide 2, does it change your URL up at the top? Because then you might be able to do it manually just by grabbing the URL that it changes to up at the top, if any of those numbers change.
No, it's just going to the same one. But I wonder, can I do this one to a link? No, it is not liking this idea at all.
And you're saying that this can be done on the app, though? Like if you're using an iPad and you have the Microsoft PowerPoint app, they can definitely do it that way, correct?
Yeah, as everything that I've done, it works that way. When the platform version on the device, it works that way. And, it's crazy that it's not working on here. And I'll even switch over to the platform version of this just to kind of show you. And this is kind of a different, or it's not a different, but it's a good thing, I guess, to show you that some of the things with Microsoft Online aren't as intuitive as it should be. So there we go. I'm going to switch over. And this was just our mission statement that we are working on earlier today. And if I click on Chomp here and 2-finger click, then I can do the hyperlink, which would get me to the next slide that I was looking at and wanting to use. But just on the online version, that did not work. And I'm quite frankly a bit disappointed. And I didn't even think in a million years that I would need to practice that, because it should have just, worked.
And, and I love the fact that you showed this, because to us, it seems like, well, yeah, that feature should be in there, no problem. And why is it not? Right. So Microsoft, if you're listening, I mean, I don't mean to be mean, but it's a no-brainer that you want to do it that way. But I see exactly where you're coming from with this technique. I'm going to show you, so while you were talking, I'm like, I've done this before, and I want to show 2 different ways that I've done this out of Google Slides. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So I used to do an activity in my classroom where I would have a picture of an animal cell for my students. And what I would do is I would share this single document through Google Classroom, and I would share it as every student can work on this exact same document. And so I would say, Sally and Jimmy, your job on slide 2, and I wouldn't have all this stuff, but I would have the cell membrane. I go, your job is to bring me the structure and the function of a cell membrane by researching it, and 2 images. And then Billy and Tony, your job is to research the nucleus. And 2 more students, your job is to check out the cell wall. So that they would all be working independently on the exact same project, right? On the exact same project, but different slides. And this is what I would do. I would then come over and link a question mark right here to each slide. Okay, so this would be your nucleus right here. So this, I would click here and I would link this one to slides in this presentation, nucleus, boom. And I think that's exactly what you were looking to do out of the PowerPoint online, is to just link to another slide. And then what I would do is I would share this with the students as a presentation. And so students could then use this as a self-study tool. Like, ooh, what is this? Ooh, and they have to guess, and they go, I think it's the nucleus. And they click on it, and it takes them to the nucleus. All right, I was right. But there's a problem with this. We want it to be an app, right? So the app would be now where would you go, Tyler? If this was an app, where would you want to go back to?
I would say go back to that previous diagram of the cell.
Absolutely. But what happens in a slide deck when you just click anywhere?
Goes to the next page.
It goes to the next one. So what I train the students is this. When you are done with your project, you need to come up to shapes, cover the entire thing with a square. Whoops, I don't think it did it. I'll do it again. Cover the entire thing with a square. You're then going to come to the color as transparent, the border as transparent, and then you're going to hyperlink this to guess where?
The previous, or the diagram of the cell.
Yep, slide number 1. Make it smaller so I can actually do that. Sometimes it won't let you go there that easily. And so I would take it to slide number 1. All right. And then again, I would do the same thing here. I would come in here before I lay these down. I would come in here, add a new shape. Hyperlink it to slide number 1, but make sure again it's the entire size and then transparent. So now, let me move this guy back. I'm going to make sure this guy's in the front order. Bring to the front. Now if I'm in this slideshow, guess what? If I click anywhere, it stays on this main slide. It kind of locks it in place. I call that a force field. It won't let you advance. If I click here, I get to advance, and then I didn't lay this one down correctly. Let me just do this. For some reason, when it's too big, it won't let me link directly. So here we go. First slide. There we go. So now if we go back to the slideshow, anywhere I click, nothing works. I click here. The nucleus, I was correct. They click anywhere, and it takes you back to the first slide. And so it kind of creates a self-directed but student, a student crowdsourced study template right there. The last thing I want to show is I did the same thing for my school. So in my school, we use a paperless discipline system. We don't use the carbon copies anymore for detention or anything like that, because what happens? You write that carbon copy, you give one to the student, you keep one, the student loses theirs, you get busy as a teacher, put yours on the desk, you lose it, you forget you gave that student detention, and nothing happens with these consequences. But we created a paperless system, but the teachers didn't know where all of them were. I would tell them to bookmark them, right? But they're going to forget. And so who do they always come to? Where's that detention system again? Where's that link? And I always have to send it to them. So I created this discipline dashboard, which all I did is give them one single link, and it looks just like this. And it works on their phones. It works on their computers. And so all they do is have this one link, and they go, okay, I want to assign lunch detention. They click on it. Boom, it takes them right to the lunch detention form, and all they do is fill it out. Or I need to assign after school detention. Boom, click on it. It takes them to the after school detention, and all they have to do is fill it out. So it creates a semi-app, which is just hyperlinks, but it's one single page. They can turn it into a link on their phone if they wanted to as an app. Just create an icon and then link it to this. Super easy to get through. So I think, Tyler, this is exactly what you were kind of going for. It's just the hindrance of the online happenstance of the Microsoft.
Definitely is, because, a lot of times, like the discipline thing that you just showed, we had some fifth graders last year when they created an app. It was all about, actually, no, it wasn't fifth graders. Sorry, I apologize. It was actually first graders. They created a problem solving app that it was basically a flow chart, and you say, do you have a problem? Yes or no. If you click yes, then the next page was what kind of problem? And it was for the playground. It was like swings or, the monkey bars or something. You click on that, and then it would come up with a picture of the school rules on there. And it was, for first graders to come up with that was awesome. And, that's why it threw me for a loop that I couldn't do this online, because we have first graders that were doing it last year. But yeah, it's a way that even as a app developer, if they're coming up with their prototypes for their app, it's a simple way. If you have no clue how to code anything, then let's just build a rough prototype in something as simple as PowerPoint or slides, and use that as a way to get the idea out. And then down the line, if it's a really good idea, then perhaps somebody will buy it off of you just for that intellectual idea side of it. I'm sure you've seen the show Silicon Valley, and they created an app that was, is it a hot dog or not a hot dog? I think it was. And, it just takes a picture, yes or no. But that kind of a simple thing could essentially be done in a way doing this. But Joe, one thing that you were talking about as you were putting that bounding box around the other thing, it brought up a different idea, and I was just kind of curious on your thoughts of this to kind of shift gears for a second. Have you noticed or ever seen where you do all this work on a presentation for your previous school or for another teacher, and then they go in and change their name and they're like, oh, look at this great thing that I made? Has that ever happened for you?
I have done whenever I do presentations, this is what I tell anybody that sees what I've done. I go, if your school is going to resonate with it more by you putting your name on it, take it. I don't need any applause. But I would love to hear if they're using it. I would love to hear the stories about it being used. Right. So, I do that all the time. Now, I also have heard of where people have gone to, a presentation and did that, grabbed somebody else's presentation and changed their name and didn't really change much else and didn't give much credit and took it off and did their own thing. I don't agree with that. I think you should always credit whoever started it. And I think you should always ask permission from those individuals. And that's just being nice, right? Yep. If you want to use aspects of somebody's presentation, but you're going to create it from scratch, I think that's perfectly fine. But I'll tell you, I would never go on and say, a tool that was created like Shapegrams, right? Shapegrams is a great little activity that you can do on Google Draw, where you can actually make really great images with just shapes. I would never, and I love it, but I would never go and say that I created this. I wouldn't go and call it gram shapes or anything, because why? But I'll tell people where the resources are and who created it and how to do it, and ask permission if I can share it out with other individuals before I do. I think that's just the proper way, a proper etiquette of sharing and pushing things forward in our realm.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason I bring that up is I saw a something online a while back, and I was just thinking about it, and the way that this presenter made their stuff like undeniably theirs is they put like a text box or a watermark or something on the slides, but we're actually able to lock it to where you can't unlock that and reuse it or anything, or move it or delete it without like a password. So I was kind of curious, and I know that they have extensions for PowerPoint, the platform, the actual standalone program to do this. Within Google Slides, is there a way to lock something in to where like a student can't go in and delete it or just right click on it and, delete it that way. Like, oh, I'm going to pull one over on Mr. Marquez. Like I can just right click and delete. Like, is there a way that you can do that within there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can do things like that. One would be you can come in to your slides over here, and under View, go to Theme Builder, and you can put your backgrounds or static images or watermarks here, and then they get baked into the slide. And so you can't delete them, you can't remove them. That's one way. Another way is when you share it. When you share these out, there's a couple different ways you can share these things. But when you do share it out, it gives you, do editors have permission to change and share with others? You could turn that off. Like as an editor, you have the right to come in and edit, but you cannot share editing rights with other people. Or you can come in here, viewers and commenters cannot have the option to download, print, edit, or make a copy of this. And so they can go through the slideshow, they can see everything, but they can't delete anything. So those are a couple ways that you can protect your stuff and not make people change it. So it all depends on what your outcome is. If you still want people to add things to it, then I think your best bet would be to build more in the theme builder. It used to be called master slides. Now it's theme builder. Or if it's about sharing rights, you definitely want to double check your sharing rights with your cogwheel right up here.
Yeah. Everybody says that educators are the masters of stealing, and it is, taking other people's ideas and improving on it. I mean, honestly, there's only so many different ways you can teach addition. But giving credit where credit's due. And then now in the digital age where we're at a spot now where, I could post a fantastic thing and then, anybody could go in and download it and make it their own. So I was just, one of those things that all these ideas that we're sharing, the idea of making an app within PowerPoint. I got that idea from Apple for some keynote training over the summer. And, it came from somewhere else, which probably came from somewhere else. It's just one of those things. Granted, we don't have the buying power of Apple that, hey, I like your idea, and they go out and buy it. And call it their own, which was, the technology behind Siri and a lot of their other technologies that I'm sure we've never heard of. But yeah, it is important, and it's something for people out there to think about, that there are copyright laws that apply to, images and video and music, but even just a simple thing as a PowerPoint, it's getting in that gray area now. But, it was weird. Sorry to go off on a weird tangent there, but my mind shifted as you were doing something else that just triggered my brain. And, as we said at the beginning, it's been a crazy day up here, and it's only going to get crazier for us as the week progresses.
No, yeah. I mean, again, a couple things. If you're looking to lock specific aspects down because you want your students to be able to manipulate but not completely delete, there's a way to do that, again, with your theme builder. If you're looking to lock it down even more, like you give a presentation, you give the link to your presentation, but you don't want people to copy or distribute or download, there's a way to do that. Again, I'm in the mindset of, the more the merrier that gets it, great. And if my presentation resonated with you and you take it back to your staff and they're like, I don't know who this Joe Marquez is, we're not going to use it. And they'll get more buy-in by changing their name. And I know a lot of people wouldn't be nice with that, but I'm cool with it. The great thing is it pushes me forward. The more that I have to ideate and create new things, and that's just the way of the world. But I also think, as educators, we should always give props where props are due. Always at least say, I got these ideas from, here's their Twitter, give them a shout out. Teachers, I don't think have ever taken me up on deleting my name and putting theirs. I've always seen people, if they're going to use my stuff, they always give me credit, and I always appreciate them for that. But my job is to make the learning experience better for students. And if some teacher grabs what I'm doing and shares it out with their name on it, and their whole school changes because of it, am I affecting more students? Absolutely. So, that's just the way that I look at it. And I also say, teaching's a collaborative sport. And if you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. So we need to be able to be sharing as much as we can with everybody else, and hope people will take what we're sharing, remix it, make it their own, and change the experiences of their students also, and be happy with that. But again, lots of different mindsets out there. I'm just in the mindset of sharing is caring, and let's move education forward as easily and quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And Joe, I'm going to make one last shift here, just for fun, kicks and giggles. And we're both part of a collaborative group called Edu Meet. And with Edu Meet, not that we're going to meet in person, although we could meet in person over some meat. But I am curious, what are you cooking tonight?
I'm curious with that as well. I have to tell you, during this 2 years at home, I have made, dinner pretty much every single night except Fridays. Fridays are our family movie night, and we treat ourselves to a DoorDash that night. And so every day around noon, I have to ask myself, what's for dinner? Because I either have to thaw something or marinate something or get something going. So tonight I did not do that. So I appreciate you asking that question, because now I have to figure out the answer.
Well,
what about you? What are you cooking tonight? I know you did a tri-tip the other day. Is there any left? You're going to do tri-tip leftovers, tri-tip tacos, tri-tip whatever?
That is actually where I was going, because I made a tri-tip yesterday, and for the traditional Californians out there, you're going to probably be throwing your computer after you hear this, but I make my tri-tips brisket style, and I like to go low and slow, wrap it until it gets about 200, and it is juicier than juicy. But yesterday, so I get it done, and I had been taking pictures all day of this thing, so I wanted to make one of those crazy Tic Tac videos or whatever they're called, and I get to the very last stage. I pulled it off the grill. It's going to rest for an hour, and then a stomach bug hit. And by the time I was ready and done, I go back downstairs and I see that half of it's gone. And I looked at my wife. I'm like, did you at least get a picture? She goes, nope, but it tasted good. And it kind of hurts. But tonight I'm going to go home and I'm going to be making some, you mentioned it, some tri-tip tacos. So I am really excited for that.
Well, that's good. Well, you can at least take pictures of those and paste it in the Edu Meet channel that we got going on. All right. Well, Tyler, I think we did it. I think we got our point across. There are some hiccups. That's the reason we do this show, is because I'll tell you, if a teacher who uses Google and is used to hyperlinking anything to anywhere goes into the online version of PowerPoint and they can't do it, it's going to not ruin their day, but it's going to cause them pause to do it differently. And they're going to have to use the on-prem, the actual application on the machine. But hopefully Microsoft's watching this, is like, you know what, we should get on that, because if it's online, it should be linkable. But you know what, as we always say, shift happens and you gotta go with the flow. So I think our listeners are probably done listening to us clamor back and forth. So as we end all episodes, we just hope that your week is off to a great start. We hope Friday comes to you earlier than you expect. We hope you make differences in your class every day this week, and we hope that your experience as an educator not only benefits your staff and students, but also you as well. And Tyler, do you want to give our catchphrase at the end? May the
shift be with you.
Until next time, everybody, have yourselves a wonderful